And even when I worked in a maternity unit in the hospital, this was community-based birth, physiologic birth, even unmedicated births in the hospital, they were unheard of. That was nowhere on my radar. And as a parent too, same thing. Holistic care, none of it was on my radar. It was either you followed the normal model, or you unvaccinated and you were shunned from society and that's the way it was. So, and there was no,
doesn't have to be this either or, right?
Welcome back to the Midwifery Wisdom Podcast. This week, Augustine sits down with Dr. Anna Villasuso and Sheily Nishman, two trailblazing entrepreneurs and the co-founders of the up-and-coming company Birdie and Co. In this episode, Anna and Sheily talk about their introductions to the midwifery and community-based birth world, and how their own experiences as young mothers helped them to identify a significant gap in the postpartum care and community for moms. They share their process of developing their company and creating a groundbreaking postpartum supplementation powder designed to support new mothers during a crucial stage of their journey. They also talk about one of the big projects they're working on, creating a comprehensive directory of trusted providers for both moms and midwives to access for care during pregnancy and postpartum period. Tune in to hear how they are fostering connections, enhancing well-being, and making a lasting impact on maternal health.
Welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have you here and can't wait to talk about both of your histories, what led you to work together, and what you have created. So let's do introductions first.
So I'm Anna Villasuso. I am CEO of Birdie and Company with Sheily. We're the co-founders of it. I've been a nurse working kind of like in the medical field in hospital settings for years now. Then after having kids of my own, kind of going back to the workforce, I just kind of realized how the medical system was really lacking in all fronts, especially when I worked in a postpartum unit. And I just really, I couldn't bring myself to continue doing the work that I felt was a disservice to new moms and babies. And I was lucky enough to find a birth center in Miami that was about to basically close. And they brought me in and I never looked back. I decided to pursue midwifery. I decided to go head over heels into women's health, newborn health, maternity, everything, but in a more holistic, natural, what should be the norm way. And through that work at a birth center, after caring for these moms firsthand, we ended up developing Birdie and Company. So we created a prenatal supplement initially, and we knew we wanted to do more than that. So we kind of just kept growing on, okay, what does this community need? And that's how we kind of started with Birdie.
That's amazing. So Sheily, tell us, how did you get involved in this? Tell me your story. Who are you? Where are you? What do you do?
Well, hi, I'm super excited to be here and to share my story and Birdie's story. Well, like Anna gave our little intro, but my name is Sheily Nishman. I am a traditional birth doula and I'm a mom to two beautiful boys. So a little bit about how I got into this space through my own experience in childbirth. So I had an emergency cesarean with my first son, mid-pandemic, April 2020. So lots of things going on there, but it was my first son and I kind of just, went the traditional hospital system route where I was seen by, a practice with 12 different OBs and, the typical model of care. Fast forward to about 18 months after having my first son, did a lot of work, a lot of research, and to even deciding if I wanted to have another kid, because if a C-section was my only option, it just wasn't going to happen for me. And so my husband and I made it a priority for ourselves to really dig deeper and find out not just what happened, but how we can take it into our hands, right? They're our kids. And so it should ultimately be our decision, how they, not only we parent them, but how they enter the world, right? Because it starts there. It starts with pregnancy. It starts with preconception, planning, family planning, all these things. It's taking control as parents, as a mom, right? And so that's what led me ultimately to the decision to go the home birth route with our second son. Yeah. So on a really supportive team, we really, really equipped ourselves. And through the grace of God, we had our beautiful home birth, perfectly healthy son, HBAC. And that day, I mean, I just, we all know that fire that you get, right? That after a birth, that high that everyone in the room experiences, but really as a mom. And for me, having such two opposite experiences, with my first being under general anesthesia and not meeting him for 4 hours. And with my second, I mean, a home birth, you could just understand that internal battle that I had, even as a mom. For me, like, wow, it was almost like I'm so grateful for this experience, but at the same time, like, I'm so sad for my first son.
Wow. Yeah.
And so what better way there's nothing I can do to change my story, right? So for me, it was like, how can I bring this to other moms? How? And so really that began with just arming myself with the knowledge, to become a doula, and started, apprenticing in that world and more the traditional route. Because again, while I do attend hospital births, I stick to home births, planned birth center births, because again, just aligns more with what I needed and what I seek for other families. So that's a little bit about my mission, my background.
And how did you two meet? How did this come together? Tell us more.
So we actually both have two boys, 4 and 2. My youngest is almost 2. So we knew each other for a couple of years. We have like a really good friend in common. So we were never really like good friends, but we always knew each other, kind of saw each other. And when I saw Anna started working at the birth center, this was already after I had my home birth. And so it was just like, oh my God, it sparked up that connection, right? And so they started needing a little bit of help in terms of the office and things like that. And me, working in the birth space, I was like, for sure, like I however you guys need help, like I'm more than willing. What can we do to, help out the birth center? How can we build it up? And so that's how I kind of entered on the team, working with the other doula as well as backup, and just kind of helping, logistics, birth center, all the things, because while birth is birth, there's also a lot of other things on the other side of it.
Totally.
Are not so fun, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how that started, how we started working together in the birth world and birth working journey. And so we saw like all of these questions. It was the first thing, like what recommendation. And so while yes, the answer was, okay, something tangible, right, that we can give these moms, a product that we trust, that we would take ourselves and recommend wholeheartedly. But with that, what do they need more? They need to armor themselves with the knowledge that they need, not only to make these decisions for the pregnancy, for the birth, but for postpartum, for parenting, right? So it's just setting these families up for success, not only through their nutrition, but through everything, in every decisions they're making in terms of their baby, right? So
definitely,
that's where the nest was born. So
nest, ooh, tell me about this. This is so cool. I love that symbology.
So the nest was born from Birdie and Co, because the nest, how cute of a name, but essentially because that's where we want to like nurture our families, right? Because it's not just about like, we don't want to be just a prenatal supplement company, because at the end of the day, we know nutrition is key, right? But like we said, our biggest and most important impact to families is giving them knowledge, giving them tangible tools, right? Things to think about, things to research, and pointing them in the right direction in terms of giving them unbiased research, opinions, evidence-based data, as opposed to things that you'll find, on Instagram Reels, TikTok, anecdotal practices, which while some of these testimonies and stories are great, in this time, especially as a mom myself, I found that it could just be a lot of noise. Or shifting towards like evidence instead of just fear.
right? Because a lot of the information is just fear mongering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's both sides of that, right? So really it's just, for people who are fear birth, right? Who fear home birth centers, there's that side of it. And then there's the other side where people who do home birth or do take more holistic approach just aren't holistic enough or aren't,
right.
Because if you don't,
right.
This is sadly it's what we're living in now, right? So there's
so political. Yeah, definitely.
Sure. It's polarizing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it should be a family's choice. That's what we believe wholeheartedly. Not only where you choose to give birth, whom you choose to give birth with, if that's by yourself, you and your baby, and in your home or with a team of trusted providers or in a hospital. Yeah. Ultimately, at Birdie and Company, our top priority is for families to feel empowered to make that decision because it's yours and nobody else's. And
that's so cool.
The Nest is the hub of that. Essentially, it's a hub of an educational platform. And on the tail end, we have the Birdie Collective. And so that is our list of affiliated, but more so just a directory of providers that we've curated who, handpicked, who we know not only we would go to, but we would recommend not just our patients, but our friends, sisters, so on and so forth, because it's so needed. It's very easy to Google and come up with 10 different things and try to cipher through reviews and SEO, right? But there's nothing like true face-to-face, like two moms recommending providers who they actually don't trust.
Well, and so there's like three things going on here. You are a manufacturing supplement company.
Yes.
You've created this community, like a curated community, or a cultured community. And then you also have a list of verified, recommended providers. Is that for Florida where you guys are centered, or is that for nationwide?
Eventually nationwide is the goal. Slow and steady, because again, the idea is that these are handpicked providers. So we do have a link to apply where we would, set a meeting with you, look into your practice, whether there's a physical location or whether you have reviews, or maybe get in contact with a couple of, if you're a midwife, a couple of moms who delivered with you.
Wow.
That's the goal. So really to, again, handpick trusted, loved providers, because we feel like that's something that was also missing in the space, regardless of insurance or whatever your plan looks like.
Yeah.
Want to give you the tools to have in your bag for when the time comes. So every pelvic floor therapist, to your doula, to your midwife, to your lactation consultant, everything ultimately you will find on the Birdie Collective.
That's so cool. Wow. And so right now the geographic area is South Florida, all of Florida?
I mean, not there's no really specific. So we way it came up was because while we were caring for these moms at the birth center, it would be, who do you recommend for lactation? Who do you recommend for a pediatrician? Who practices similar to the way you guys do that I can now trust to continue my care? Because it's different to go from kind of the midwifery practice model, holistic care, and then to now be planted in like a medical practice. So we were looking, our patients were constantly asking us. So it began with just like a PDF, which I'm sure probably every midwife has one. They have the midwife, their list of, here are the pediatricians that I recommend. So it started with a literal handout that I would give to all of my patients and say, these are the people that, we asked around, people like these providers, they like these pediatricians, here's the list of it, and you can take it. And then we said, what if we took it a step further? We started to do this. So it initially was, these are the people we can let our birth center moms move on to. And then we said, everyone needs this. The whole country needs this. So we're building the Birdie Nest and the Birdie Collective slowly. Right now, I mean, it's open for nationwide because we want everyone to be able to have access to these kinds of resources. So again, like Sheily said, we are building it super slow, super steady, because we do want to make sure we're taking our time to look into the providers, their practice, making sure that their mission and their vision aligns with ours and the way we practice. So it does take us a little bit of time to look through them, but it's only because we want to give a trusted resource to our patients and community. And so, I mean, nationwide is wide open and anybody is welcome to apply so we can learn about them, share about them. And if they have phenomenal care and services, give that to the masses.
We absolutely
Wow. That is so awesome. You guys, I'm really impressed. This is a huge mission you have in front of you. And
Thank you.
I think you're so right, especially if, like both of you have been talking about the postpartum period, like the pediatrician or the lactation consultants, or how underseen those folks are. So that seems to be a huge part of your focus as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even during the prenatal period with our current patients, we tell them, here's all the cards of all the people we know in the community. Start researching, because trust me, you're going to want to know who you want to be with. Once you're in that newborn phase, you're not going to be you're going to pull up Google the first person, whoever has that first appointment, you're going, because they're going to be exhausted. You're not going to be wanting to put effort and energy into those things. So we stress it during the prenatal period. Take your time now to do the research, do your interviews, and that way, because I can control the kind of care that I give my patients and I can do a great job of that, but I don't want to just hand them off to the next person and then now their quality of care declines. So we want to make sure that whoever we're handing off to next is going to do just as good a job as we would.
That's awesome. Well, so Anna, I don't think you said this in your intro, but you are also a student or a newly graduated midwife, right?
So I'm a nurse practitioner. I kind of went a weird route. So
tell me more. I want to hear more.
Yeah. My passion was always babies and children, and I loved it. It was always my passion. I always knew I wanted to work with babies or children in some sort of capacity. So when I grew up, I thought, okay, I'll be a pediatric nurse practitioner. I worked in an emergency room. I loved it. And then I got accepted to a program for a bachelor's degree straight to a doctorate degree for a nurse practitioner. So I followed that route. I did the whole program. I graduated. Between that time, I had 2 kids. And if anyone who's ever worked in pediatrics and then had kids, it really has an impact on you. So I worked a lot in a cardiac ICU, a lot in a neuro ICU, a lot in an emergency room. And I wanted to love the job so bad. But every time a kid or a baby would come in, I'd be like, oh, that looks like my kid. That could be my child. And I was realizing that the way I was parenting was very fear-based because of what I was constantly seeing. And I really didn't like that. And I know that those are hard jobs to do and someone has to do them, but I noticed it was starting to kind of impact the way I parented. But I didn't pay too much attention to it. I just graduated from this program. I have a doctorate degree, trying really hard to fit the mold. And I graduated and months went by. I could not get a job for the life of me. Nothing could happen. And I kept telling myself there's a reason that this keeps happening. Like, why is this struggle so hard? I feel like I'm swimming upstream. Maybe something is happening here. And that's when I ended up getting a job as a registered nurse on the floor in a postpartum unit. And I remember telling my friend, like, no, I don't think I'm going to take that job because I'd rather, wait to get a nurse practitioner job. And she told me, why would you deny something that's right in front of you for something that might not even happen? So I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. I worked there. And that's when really my passion for maternity, newborn care, all of these things really came up. And then I initially went to the birth center as a newborn specialist, as being a pediatric nurse practitioner. But I saw what kind of care I could have been giving all along. And I said, no, this is what I need to do. So I ended up applying to do a postgraduate certificate in midwifery, and I'm about to finish with that. So now I tell people, okay, so I'll be your prenatal provider as a nurse practitioner, then I'll deliver you as your midwife, and then I'll take care of the baby as their pediatric nurse practitioner. So now I can really keep the care going. But,
That's awesome.
So that's kind of how I ended up here.
Talk about
That's fantastic. Yeah, seriously, all the way through.
It's always so fun. I have to give an introduction, and I'm like, okay, I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner, but I'm studying to be a midwife, and everyone's like, what? And that is the weirdest circle. I
love it though. We all have a unique entry point, and I love that your entry point is through the babies. I think that's cool. Yeah. Well, so I want to most of our audience are midwives or students. doulas on birth workers. We don't have very many parent listeners, although shout out to those parents who dig our content. But I really want to kind of dig into this thing that you've created while being a young mother. Seems like your kids are young,
Yeah.
and while being in school practically for a decade. I don't know how many years you've done, but this seems like a lot.
Yes.
And working, and you are the CEO, co-founders of this supplement company and this community you're growing. That seems like a lot. So talk to me about this side hustle that has now become a primary focus. How did you do that? Like, we have a lot of entrepreneurs who listen who might not want to be on call full time, might want to think of some kind of this thing that they could do. At Midwifery Wisdom, we build community as well. And we talk a lot about how this can absolutely be part of your offering to the world that reduces the amount of stress you have and increases your joy and stuff like that. So tell us about this journey of finding a manufacturer, developing a formula, creating, how did you do this?
Actually, my husband and I own a separate company who he white labels. So basically creates any supplement that people may be looking for based on exactly what it is that they're looking to launch, whether that be a protein powder, pre-workout, etc. Right. So he works in partnership with my uncle, who's actually a doctor, him and his wife, and my cousin as well. They're all, he's a family medicine doctor. Both my aunt and my cousin studied immunology and everything in terms of biohacking and all of the things, regenerative health. And so working in partnership with them is where we really told them our mission in terms of this is what I'm looking for. Not your mom's prenatal.
Yeah.
It's something better. And not just that, I want to take it the next level. I want it to be something that translates into the not necessarily more important phase, but the less, let's say, planned for or highlighted phase, right? Which would be the postpartum recovery period, because there's so much on prenatal supplements, and everything else is just, breastfeeding, milk supply, milk booster, milk. So it's where's the in between? So what I like to say is, okay, what gaps need to be filled? Everything within our community, but in our supplement line as well. So really the biggest gap, and while I am a huge fan of the core prenatal and our trimester packs, because it's developed right per trimester needs, our postpartum powder is, honestly, one of the most complete that you'll find on the market.
Cool. Tell me more about this. I love this idea.
So this powder is actually made with colostrum. The form of colostrum that we're actually using, again, developed in partnership with my uncle, aunt, cousin, all closely based on their knowledge, their background, and all of the different products and things that they've manufactured in the past. We developed Birdie and Co specific Nest Nourish formula. Actually, the compounds that we use, so I'm trying to get into my scientific side now because they're the ones in charge of that, right? But essentially, we use an extracted form of the colostrum, which extracts all of the immune boosting components. So all of that is what's extracted. And essentially, when you build up your mom's immune system, right? What does your midwife tell you? What is the first thing that you take after you deliver?
Colostrum for the baby. Yeah.
Colostrum for the baby. Vitamin C for mom, right?
Yep.
Prevent anything. Okay. So first thing, what we're going to do is go in with that colostrum for mom. Not only do we have vitamin C, all the things in our core prenatal, but we have probiotics, right? So we have probiotics.
Brilliant.
And for baby. But in order for you to really be able to digest and absorb all of the things that we're putting in there, you need the probiotics, right? So it's just an immune superfood. Not just for baby, right? They're getting their colostrum, but mom as well.
That's awesome.
So it's an extracted form, again, of grass-fed colostrum. Again, focusing on immune system building components. That's everything that we tried to deliver with Nest Nourish, because the biggest mineral store depletion that a woman will ever encounter is after she gives birth. After she gives birth. And there's so much focus on prenatal. And after, it's kind of like, oh, just keep taking your prenatal. But then you see, again, filling the gaps. And what are these gaps? Most women do continue to take a prenatal. So what's happening? Why are we seeing that moms still 12, 18, 24 months postpartum, not only their levels are not where they should be, but emotionally, right? And a family, like, let's get even deeper than that. What happens when a mom doesn't have the right nutrition that she needs postpartum, and it delays this recovery process? Now we're at things that can affect the entire family unit, and the way that mom shows up, not only for her baby, but for possibly her husband or her other kids. And so the idea with this is, what do moms need, right? You need not only hormonal regulation, of course, but that immune boost to protect and allow you to go in and replenish everything little by little. It has blood boosting, so we have ferritin in there to go ahead and replenish all of the blood loss. I mean, just everything that you could possibly think of. It does have galactagogues for breastfeeding, but again, I mean, I'm never going to sell you on lactation cookies or anything, because you're going to I promise.
This episode is brought to you by Lawnmower Bookkeeping, a virtual bookkeeping firm supporting midwives and doulas. We understand that what you love to do is serve mamas, but sometimes nothing takes you out of your zone of genius like thinking about the money. So while we focus on managing your books, you can focus on client care. By keeping your books clean and tidy, we can help you make confident money moves, pay yourself a consistent salary, proactively save for taxes, and plan for growth. Learn more about working with us by clicking the link in the show notes.
Well, so how was this, developing a business from scratch that has like actual global potential? This must have been major. Did you guys get a venture capitalist or angel investor? Did you just like bootstrap it at the kitchen table? Tell me more.
Yeah, no, we've definitely been bootstrapping, but I think because the concept was so simple and really just it was just building on what we were already doing, right? So I would see a mom, her hemoglobin would be a little bit low. Hey, why don't you start with a little bit of beef liver capsules and let's go from there. And then it was like a constant. Okay, nauseous B6. It was like a constant, like repetitive. And I said, man, I just wish I could just take this one, here. Instead, I was like, okay, here's this one on mine. Here's this. Okay, again, because we kind of we're already doing it. We said, wow, imagine if we just had this. And again, I think we obviously were blessed and lucky with Shaylee's family to be able to have that connection, because we eliminated a lot of the hurdles that probably other people have to go through to create supplements.
Well, for research and development, because they've done so much of that, right? So your R&D was there.
Their whole factory is already, they already have all their third-party testing. They already have their processes and everything set up. So we really, all we had to do was do the research of exactly what we wanted in the product, and then give it to them to make it, pill possible. And then take it from there, because, we could imagine and say, oh, we want all these things, and then be like, well, then you're going to take 15 pills, right? So I did the research, went online, and looked exactly how much of everything do I want for every single mom to get. And if I have to give and take, like, what would I want to give her more than, so I made sure I tweaked it and tailored it so specifically, and then handed it off to them to make it possible. But, we really did eliminate probably a lot of the hurdles we would have had to have had if we didn't have, that in process, like in already set up for us. So that was very nice, but that doesn't mean, that we didn't do a lot of heavy lifting ourselves. Just kind of, again, I mean, we've been working on this for a while now, and we're just now finally getting ready to bring it out to the public. And, be again navigating motherhood, working, school, because Shaylee's also doing midwifery, so, and being a doula.
Whoa, you guys, this is so much. My Lord, I'm so impressed. But also, like, do you take care of yourselves? Like, do you have downtime?
Yes, we do. We had a beach day together yesterday, so that was very
good.
Also, but
so let's
that we also homeschool the kids, so we co-op homeschool.
Oh my god!
But because we know that they all kind of go hand in hand, so we know that creating a better product is only going to take care of the women better, and we want to have better cared for women so that we can deliver them and their babies and have them in a better, all of my patients, I tell them, take this product because I can guarantee you it'll make my job easier as your provider, because you won't have all these complications that you would have had if you were just not taking, a good quality supplements or, taking care of your body the right way. So they kind of all go hand in hand. And also, like, especially my struggle working in hospitals, that was probably paying the bills better and probably had, the 312s and whatever, but my cup has never been more full than it is now. And I've never been a better mom than I am now, doing something I love more than I did before. And Shaylee could say the same thing, they all, again, go totally hand in hand. So we know that the more effort we put into one, it'll spill into the other one.
I totally get that. I would love to know, what was the most surprising part of this entrepreneurial production journey? What has surprised you?
The time. So many steps. Everything. I mean, even though, like I said, my husband has worked in this space, my family as well, it's a lot different when you yourself are making decisions, you yourself are choosing who to work with. I mean, it just goes on and on, right? So, you just don't anticipate how much waiting
time.
Because
back and forth,
excited, and you want to just like get this out as quick as possible. And I mean, like, we have bootstrapped this the entire time. We have, thankfully, a lot of support from our husbands. They're really, really great in terms of our kids. We have a lot of help from our family with childcare as well. So it's definitely not something that we could do alone.
It's
a lot. But again, we are very lucky and blessed in the sense, and I feel that all of those opportunities have only happened because it's where we're meant to be, and this is what we're meant to deliver to the world. And really, so whatever has come up, we just deal with it, pivot, continue, and still with the same mission of, we need to get this out there. We need to. And at the end of the day, it's just Anna and myself calling the shots, making decisions in our day-to-day family units for Birdie, Birth Center, all of our separate clients. But a lot of it, I mean, is we've become very, very, very good friends, to say the least.
I would imagine so. It's like any partnership is like a marriage, but you add kids and money into it. It's like you're basically, totally. Wow. Well, what an offering that you guys are going to offer. How about you, Anna? What's been the most surprising path or surprising issue?
I think I agree with Shaylee. I think the most surprising would be kind of just like the waiting, because you can't do one step until you have this one, but you can't do that one until you had that one before it. So it's a lot of those pieces that need to be in place perfectly. But I think also making sure that even though you're not sitting and clocking in and doing a 9 to 5, really finding the time to dedicate to something like this, just because even with our luck that we've had or the advantages we've had in our place of having all those steps eliminated, it's still you have to sit and strategize and think, and okay, we have we do want this to be a global thing. Really, we're so proud of it. We love it so much that we just want everyone to have it. And so that was our goal from the beginning. That was our goal from the beginning, is to make it, start with such a strong foundation. And we spent a lot of time, waiting for the perfect moment because we wanted everything to be ready. I think that maybe for other entrepreneurs who are doing something else, whatever it is, sometimes it's kind of like just get up and go and just start and whatever. And we wanted to do that. But again, because we had such high hopes for it and because it could be such a household name, global idea, we wanted to make sure that our foundation was strong. So I think kind of just that anticipation period of waiting and waiting and waiting. But, here we are.
It's so awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about distribution? Can you, is this available yet? Are you still in the launch period? Where can people get this?
So we are currently still in pre-launch. We are expected to ship. Fingers crossed. Everything is such
yes.
So we are expected to ship by next week.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting!
I know.
Years in the making.
Believe it as I see it. We do have pre-order sales already, which seems like crazy to me, but also that was the goal, right? To get it to people. Now it's kind of like, it's a little bit of that, imposter syndrome coming up again, because it's been such an idea, right, for so long. That's come up a little bit for me, at least. But
so awesome.
We're there, and we actually did come up with a code for your audience. I know we don't have that many parents to be, but for any midwives or doulas who do want to share with their patients, clients, you're more than welcome to, and that is MW20.
Right. Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes down below so you can get that easily. Great. And we'll also put a link for where they can make those pre-orders. And then pretty soon they're not going to be pre-orders. It's just going to be a company that they can buy from. And so is this intended to be mail order exclusively, or, online internet order, or are you hoping to get it in stores?
So right now we're actually offering pickup orders out of the birth center, Miami Holistic Birth Center, locally.
Okay.
A couple of different places as well, wanting to, get into some boutique ultrasound shops, different, midwifery practices. But again, ultimately, our goal is to stick to where we align. And again, as a company, but as mothers, as providers, again, the goal with
sell to those clients, or those,
right? Absolutely,
yeah.
Sell to those partner with those. So we are. I mean, if Midwifery Wisdom wants to carry Birdie, you are.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got lots to talk about. The other exciting thing, of course, is that we get to host you all this year at the conference. So I'm so excited to announce that Birdie and Co are going to be vendors. And so you can see all that they're doing. I'm sure you guys will bring some samples for people to see. Yeah. That's so exciting. Well, so where from here? What's next? You guys have been going for years. Are you going to just breathe and settle into this new role, or do you have some other projects starting?
Never just breathe and that's stop. Are you kidding? Never. Women of all really need a lot of help. So, whether it be through Birdie Nest, through the Birdie Collective, looking for providers, looking for trusted community, looking for, where can I find information on how to rinse out my breast pump without it being like, you're doing this wrong, the internet, because it's, especially me as a new mom, the place I got all my information from was Instagram, and that felt wrong to me, because sometimes it makes you feel bad. And so women of everyone really needs kind of like a trusted community, right? So we want to be constantly putting information out on the Birdie Nest. We want to be growing the Birdie Collective. So any midwives that are listening to you, or if anyone is a student or any other kind of provider, and if you are like, wow, I really want to share my incredible services with more people, go to the birdienest.com, register yourself in the Birdie Collective, because again, all we want is for women to have the knowledge and have the information to make empowered decisions for themselves at any stage of their life. So preconception, prenatal, postpartum, anything. We're not, while we specifically, are practicing as student midwives and nurse practitioners in the birth center space and maternity space, that doesn't mean that that's kind of where we draw our line. Women need all kinds of providers. So if you are a provider who, think you have phenomenal care and want to share it, tell us so that we can put that on the Birdie Collective. And our ideas really is to grow that, very similar to how you have with Midwifery Wisdom. It's an incredible platform and resource for providers to get together. And we really want something like similar to what you have, kind of, for the parents to trust and, be able to look for and lean on for when they need it. And I mean, just similar to you, I mean, it never stops growing because there's always someone new, there's always a new practice, there's always a new idea, and we want to be able to look into it to give it to our patients and clients. And then from there, lots of other supplements, again, to meet women at all stages. So again, preconception, just women's health vitamins, immunity boosting, all the things.
Side of that, what you were saying, Anna, is for providers, for midwives as well. I mean, what a gift is it to have this platform that you can send your patients to, your clients to really dig through not only this research and lead to different conversations and topics directly with you and your patient, right? But also all of these different recommendations, because again, like we said, we know you are giving them, we know that they're asking you. And so we created this for as much as for these families, for you all as well, because it's just needed. It's needed. And working in this space, it's so hard. Like Anna mentioned, it's like swimming up a river, and it's very much so. And birth working, especially with community-based midwifery and traditional birth work, there's a lot that we navigate. And so
there's barracudas in that stream, man. It's dangerous out here. Yeah.
It is. So I really think it's so important to not only build a community for families, but for providers. And that's ultimately the goal. We want to share this with the world and hope that everyone is as excited about it as we are.
It's awesome. It's very awesome. And like you said, so needed. I've been dreaming of for years, like in Angie's list for obstetrics or maternity. Like, why can't people go and not these fake lists that have all been created, but like some platform where it's real, people get upvoted or downvoted and the community speaks.
Real and interactive. It's not like a blog post from 15 years ago where you knows what's happening.
This 20 birth centers and Miami.
Yeah. It's an active.
Half of them are closed. Yeah.
You can message directly. It has HIPAA it has telehealth capabilities created to HIPAA standards. So if any providers want to use it for conferences, telehealth visits,
consultations,
it's set up for that. So that's part of it. It's all included in it. And, it's basically the Facebook. So a client could log in and just type in doula. And then all the doulas would be on the page. You could click on a profile and it would literally be like a user profile that the provider could have customized with a picture, with a bio, with, posts here and there. So they're able to even post on their own page just to kind of reflect on themselves or let them know about themselves. And again, really just so that moms can make that connection and feel like they're in safe hands.
Awesome. So amazing. Wow. So what's next?
Lunch.
Lunch.
No, lunch.
Yeah, lunch. Didn't sound like lunch. Sorry. Yeah. No, launch. Yeah, no, I get it. You're gonna launch and start releasing that, and we would absolutely love to be a distributor, and I'm sure there will be many more. It's very exciting what you're doing. And I think this community building piece, that's what we're leaning into at Midwifery Wisdom, is like monetizing your community is actually one of the best, smartest things that you can do, because the shared interest brings you together, but the skin in the game, the monetization, is what makes it really an authentic connection. And it supports the creator and the facilitator of the group, and it connects people in a bigger way than, say, bumping into each other on Facebook. Like, it's such a more powerful thing. And I'm really digging into this myself. We just moved Midwifery Wisdom onto the school platform.
I saw.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have played around with school, but it's very cool what's happening. It's very user friendly, and we have so many ways to offer information, support, guidance that doesn't exist on other platforms. I'm sort of enamored with it. Where do you find that you can cultivate community the best on your platforms, or like where is that working best for you?
I would say for now, Instagram has really been where we've seen the most movement. Again, probably because we already work within our community. So locally, within our community, we also are hosting like coffee and connect with birth workers in our community. And so really, taking that initiative to really foster that through Instagram and trying to see how we can collaborate, but also those in-person meetups, like we said. So
yeah,
and seeing how we can collaborate with other birth workers and where does Birdie fit into that? How can we support your mission? How can you support ours? And so on and so forth. Because like you said, when you tap into that community, I mean, that's how communities work. At the end of the day, it's all full circle. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, and it really, capitalism drains away and it becomes actually connection and organic in the way that communities do grow all on their own. It's really special to see. I've been cultivating community for more than a decade myself, nationally and internationally, and nothing quite has ever been able to do what we're doing here at school. So I'm really excited about that, because we have to come together, right? I mean, this is the bottom line. This is what's so fascinating, disturbing, intriguing about community-based birth. If that's the central, right? Community-based birth has kind of been a unifier in a certain way, in that when you think about the life cycle arc of preconception through parenting, like the catalyst, the moment is probably community-based birth or not, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of us gather around that. Breastfeeding is another kind of gathering place. But the thing about it is that for whatever reason, that seems to be still not critical mass. Like the masses don't know about this. And so we are so disparate and so spread out that you can feel very isolated. You can feel very alone in your research, in your choice making, in your experience, in your life. And we have to come together. I mean, I had a great conversation recently with Bryn Potter, who's the new executive director of NARM. And we're just really clear. I mean, Gail Tully has said this, like Nicole Morales, like this is becoming really clear that we are like one bad choice away from losing community-based birth. Like it is an endangered species. Mm-hmm. It's terrifying, right? I mean, I'm not making this up. I feel like we really are on the cusp more than we've ever been. And why aren't we as a profession leveraging these new technological resources? Why aren't we getting people together digitally? And I love that you're doing this. We're doing it as well. And it needs to keep happening on bigger and bigger stages, because that's the only way we're going to survive this institutionalization, academicization, polarization thing that's happening in birth work. So I just applaud you both. When I met you in person, I was just like, ooh, thank you. Yeah, guys.
But it is really
I couldn't believe it. I was like fangirly.
Oh yeah, we were. But no, I think it is really, it's true what you're saying. It is scary. And again, that's kind of how it came up, is because I spent, like you said, a decade in, graduate level courses and education and medical field and working and bedside and all these things. And even when I worked in a maternity unit in the hospital, this was community-based birth, physiologic birth, even unmedicated births in the hospital, they were unheard of. And I mean, I'm come from Miami. I'm practicing down in Miami, Florida. The hospital I worked at had a 50% C-section rate for first-time moms, low-risk women. I mean, it's crazy. And that was nowhere on my radar. And as a parent too, same thing. Holistic care, none of it was on my radar. It was either you follow the normal model, or you unvaccinated and you were shunned from society and that's the way it was. So, and there was no,
there doesn't have to be this either or, right? You can find this balance. Yeah, totally.
Again, it was just trying to find the providers that you felt comfortable with, or the community that you felt comfortable with. It was a little bit daunting to go online. And again, you go on your scroll and then you see 10 things to do if you're a good mom, 10 things if you're a bad mom. And it's like, all the things you're like, oh my gosh, this is what am I anymore? So it was scary.
Yeah. Or they're like packaging prepackaged snacks and the baby with and it's just like, oh my God, well, we live in this era that's like great. A lot of the times it's overstimulation. And I think
the information is great. It's when the information is in the capitalistic economy where we are constantly being sold. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And that's another thing too, is why we were very hesitant to only be a prenatal supplement companies, because we said, what are we really doing different than all the other companies? You walk in to a CVS or a Market or a Target and you see the shelves and shelves of prenatal vitamins. What really makes us stand out is that, again, we care. So we're taking it a step further. We don't want to just make that. It's a great supplement. Again, we're extremely proud of it, but our passion comes to supporting moms and families in every way. And that's where we also decided to create the Nest.
Yeah. So that your product isn't on Target shelves making tons of money, but you're in the community with the people that you're interacting with. Right. And I get that. It is a hard balance, isn't it? I mean, this is the weird thing that capitalism does to everything. It's like, you can't just do something for the love of doing it, because you have to figure out how to monetize it. You have to make a living,
right? For the love of my kids, I have to.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy. Well, what a refreshing change. I can't wait to see the actual ingredients. I can't wait to get a hands on a bottle, as a functional medicine provider. I'm sort of fascinated by this too. I'm really inspired by what you've done, and I can't wait to see you guys again in November.
We can't wait either. We're very excited.
Yeah.
Mom.
So tell me, mom trip. So tell me where people can find you. Where are they looking online? Give us where to send people, or Instagram, or wherever you want them to go.
So our Instagram, you can follow us at _Birdie Co. So that's RDIE Co. And our website is thebirdieandcompany.com.
Okay.
It's our e-commerce site, but on there you can also find a link to the Birdie Nest.
Oh, cool. We'll definitely link all
for the Birdie Collective is on there as well. Our journal, which is our blog, all of that, email, contact, all of that.
Awesome.
And don't forget about the 20% off the entire order code. So that's MW20 for 20% off the entire order. And you can, any providers or midwives listening, feel free to share it with your clients. Again, we're so proud of this. We just want as many moms to take it as possible. So feel free to share it with anybody.
That's so generous. Thank you. We'll put that in the show notes too. Thank you both for being here. See you in November. You're awesome. Keep feeling it. You're amazing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Bye.